that during last 5 years, the countries of the Latin America and the potential of cooperation with them have been widely underestimated. It's clear that our priorities are reflected in the Constitution, like European and Euro-Atlantic integration, relations of partnership with Asian neighbors, as it has been recently declared by the current Minister for Foreign Affairs. But as for me, there is no contradiction. We have very good friends in Latin America. We have huge potential for trade and economic cooperation. We are dealing with one of the key regions of this planet. It's about $60 billion of their GDP, of more than $2 billion people of population, very numerous diaspora, Ukrainians there. And look, during last 9 months, we have met, in particular, the president of your country 2 times. It speaks of itself. We take every opportunity to reinforce our cooperation with our key partners in Latin America as well. And that's not only about the mutual interests in the international fora, like you mentioned, of course, restoring our territorial integrity and sovereignty and fruitful cooperation within the margins of international organizations is our priority number 1. And I must admit we have reached some progress in this very dimension. Of course, we have pretty fruitful exchange of support within the margins of the international organizations. Just a couple of weeks ago, we held a couple of political consultations with the countries of Latin America at the level of deputy foreign ministers. Then, speaking of Brazil, we held 2 online sessions of communications with regards to the possible reinvigoration of our bilateral trade, lifting barriers in trade, and I'm more than happy that this dialogue is moving on. Of course, the other priority is trade and economy, as I mentioned. And of course, I'm more than happy that Ukrainian's trade policy is quite open-minded. We have got assurances from our trade representative that some barriers would be lifted. Of course, this is the matter of further communications, but we are pretty optimists. And after that, we could hold a session of our joint intergovernmental commission in order to identify the possible poles of growth. Natalia has widely commented upon the sources of attractions of Ukrainian economy with regards to the possible interests of Latin American entrepreneurs. I fully agree with you that our deep and comprehensive free trade area with the European Union is a good incentive to invest in joint enterprises here in order to become some kind of hub of new productions located in Ukraine. And of course, one but not the least is the global agenda issues like climate change, like fight for proliferation of weapons, of illicit proliferation of drugs, Of course, discovery of Arctic Pole, of space, and so on and so forth. So we are pretty enthusiastic. Of course, we have some challenges. First, I will start with our embassies. We have to reinvigorate their activity. As being frank, they are not pretty much numerous. And of course, taking into account pretty low speed of contacts during the previous time period, we should invest additional focus into their activity. They should become best ever representatives of Ukrainian goods, Ukrainian services, IT. I forgot mentioning, but you know that just last year one of the key Brazilian IT company with $1 billion annual turnover opened its office in Ukraine. And of course, these practices should be expanded. So, as it has been mentioned, another challenge is mass media. Unfortunately, we are not as much seen and listened in the regional mass media, TV in particular. But of course, we should do much more with regards to delivering the truth on the events on the east of Ukraine, on the events in occupied Crimea. Of course, we are not alone here, and our Russian partners are not sleeping. They are moving hand in hand and sometimes even swifter than we do. But it's all on our plate. Another challenge is, of course, is that in many Latin American countries we are facing left-wing governments. And due to their party affiliation, it's much more difficult to find commonly acceptable solutions for many reasons.